What's up, good people? Welcome into Montgomery Company. Excited today because y'all know I love TV and we have an amazing guest. But before we have our guest, let me talk about the NBA. So if you guys don't know, DeMar DeRozan's daughter had to be removed from the arena for actual serious threats. Crazy. We're going to get into it and a little bit more. But back to who we have on the show. Carla Banks-Waddles. So if you guys know, we love the show Bel-Air around here. Season 2 is underway. The season finale is next week. And we have the writer, executive producer, the showrunner. We got all of it. And it's all in one person. Miss Carla Banks. Tap in today. She drops a lot of gems. Okay, so the sports world is sporting. There's a lot going on. There's the NHL finals. There's the NBA playoffs. There's WNBA training camp around the corner. We just had our draft. But speaking of WNBA, there's also NASCAR, and we're going to have a NASCAR driver coming up soon. So just letting you guys know, like, we getting all up in it, okay? F1 next. But in the WNBA world, some news did drop where, and this was from @Christina on Twitter. Christina Williams is a W member, media member, covers a lot of things. And she said, breaking, the WNBA is expanding their chartered flights program for players this season. It will include flights for all postseason games, WNBA Commissioner's Cup championship game, select regular season games where teams have back-to-back games on their schedule. So, I mean, for anybody that's been following anything about the WNBA women's sports, this is definitely growth because there's been a lot of conversations. The players have been very outspoken and vocal about this is some of the type of changes they want to see. So that is the first step. As we know, the players want full season chartered flights and things of that nature, but this is definitely the first step. And, you know, there's a lot going on in the basketball sports world. Shouts to the NFL where Jalen Hurts, and actually this is a report that from Ian Ian Rappaport. The Eagles and Jalen Hurts agreed to terms on a 5-year, $255 million contract extension that makes him the highest paid player in NFL history. His agent, shouts to his agent, man. His agent, this is just a side note. His agent sent an DM to him. Her name is @Agent Nicole Lynn. So shouts to Nicole. She sent a DM to Jalen Hurts basically saying, do you have an agent yet? If not, I would like you to consider me. And then an $179 million in guaranteed and no trade clause deal later, Nicole Lynn made Jalen Hurts have the highest paid player contract in NFL history. So I had to shout that out because we love to see it all the way around. And also, sorry to all the women because Jalen Hurts recently did an interview with Essence where he had to say that he is spoken for. He's not married, he's not engaged, but that man is spoken for, a college sweetheart. We love to see it. Now I want to talk a little bit about, get a little bit more in-depth on the sports side when I break down what everyone's talking about, okay? And so I'm just going to go ahead and just read the communications to just set the table. It was from the NBA. Golden State's Draymond Green suspended. On April 18, 2023, Golden State Warriors forward Draymond Green has been suspended 1 game without pay for stepping on the chest of Sacramento Kings center Domantas Sabonis. Now, it was announced today by Joe Dumars, executive vice president, blah, 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 blah. So the conversation has went viral in a sense of people are torn. You know, it's almost 50-50. So look, I did a poll even on my Twitter. I asked everyone, do you agree or disagree with the Draymond suspension? 53% said, I agree. 47% said, I disagree. Now, it's a small sample size. It's only 6,000 people, but it's a big enough sample size that I can take from the fact that people are torn. On the one hand, some people said that the league released the facts that, okay, there was the history taken into account. A lot of people dislike that because they said, you know, his history doesn't indicate what happened in that moment, if there were other circumstances around. And some people were like, yes, finally, Draymond's history is catching up to him. So people are torn. Here's my opinion on the whole thing. And I know this is kind of like dancing around it, but I just wish that the refs, and I'm not one of those people that, because as an athlete, we are always taught, don't focus on the refs. Like if you're close enough to where the ref can make a call at the end of the game, I've had coaches that say, well, that was your problem then, because we know that the refs, you can't trust the refs to make every call right. But I just don't want the refs to be as involved. Like I don't want players, I want to see star players playing. And I'm not saying if a player does something that warrants to be thrown out, of course you have to get thrown out. But I said this the same when I was watching March Madness. I saw that a lot of college players were getting 2 quick fouls or something in the beginning of the game, and now they can't play for the rest of the half, and we have to wait till the second half to see if they can play. They're out of their rhythm. The stars, we want to see the stars shine in the big moments. And I feel like that's a little bit happening right now in this Draymond Green situation where, yes, I do believe that was excessive. I kind of pretty much, like, right when I saw it happen, I said to Serena, I was like, oh, babe, he's going to get a flagrant 2. He's out. Like, you knew it instantly when you saw it. Adam Silver is sitting in the stands looking. So you knew kind of instantly, boom, he's going to get thrown out. It's a flagrant 2. To that point, like, DeMontis is not out of just the clear 2. So I feel like, yes, he had a say in it. He grabbed the leg. Like, everything that everybody's saying is true. There wouldn't have been a step if there wasn't a grab first from DeMontis. Does that make it okay that Draymond did that? No. So what I'm saying is, yes, 2 wrongs don't make a right. So let's make it right by allowing Draymond to play in game 3. Like, I know it's already not going to happen, but I just feel like I would want to see the stars play. Not if they did something that warranted them not playing, but I don't feel that Draymond did enough that should take him out of game 3 of the NBA playoffs, something that players have worked all year to get to. And I just want the refs to just allow, like, I mean, the games have been more physical, so shouts to the ref. I know a lot of people don't like that. I like the physicality because I like the fact that you're going to have to figure it out, first of all, and that's what it's like in playoffs. I've gotten punched, elbowed, hit, my tooth knocked back in those high pressure moments. It happens. But then we get to see the stars shine. We saw that with Phoenix, and we saw that, with Russell Westbrook for the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. We are seeing the stars shine when given the opportunity. So I want to continue to see that. So long story short, man, I just wish that Draymond and the Golden State Warriors could be at full strength, because now there's going to be this little asterisk, and Sacramento Kings have done nothing to warrant that asterisk. Everything that they've done has shown that they look like the team to beat. And so I just hate that we can't see it full force, because, this happens when it comes to injuries. But I just wish we could have watched both teams go head to head with all the players that they have available. And we just had, get your popcorn style live action. So what can you do? I'll be tapped in just like everybody else, watching more of playoff action, baby. Let's go.
Don't get sent to the penalty box. Subscribe to our channel and make sure to follow us on socials.
All right, so let's just have a conversation about, we've already talked about this a little bit before. I talked about fans. First of all, what are y'all doing at games? There's fan etiquette. There's a real thing. And yes, let me put a side note that I know that Russell Westbrook has gotten into it with a lot of fans. He recently walked up in, it looked like the Lounge 360 place, pulled up on somebody and said, what's that stuff you was talking? So I know that there's that type of energy too coming from athletes. But as a whole, fans, most athletes, I'ma just speak from my point of view. When I go to the games, I'm usually going there, obviously, to win a game, to compete, to turn up. But I love having fans there. Even if I'm on an away game and y'all don't love me, even if y'all are booing me, going crazy, I love that. Like, I want you to boo me because I want you to be a big fan of whoever your team is. Like, I love fans and fandom. But one thing we gotta do is figure out, where is that fandom line? And have you crossed it? Because I think that some fans are starting to not realize there's a line. Like, I don't care if, like, and this is just me being me, like, I don't even really care if you cuss me out, but it's like, watch what you say if you use derogatory terms as you're cussing me out. So I know that this is a fine line, but the reason that I'm getting into this whole spiel is because there was a post on Bleacher Report. I'm sure everybody's heard about it by now. DeMar DeRozan's 9-year-old daughter was escorted out of the Raptors arena by the Bulls security on Wednesday after the team was notified by the NBA that she received severe online threats. You may be asking, why in the world would a 9-year-old of an NBA player be receiving severe threats? Oh, because she was yelling during the game when the opposing
She did her
team.
job.
Yeah, my son does that. Junior does that.
Yes, he does.
She did her
She
job.
was yelling during the game as the opposing team was shooting free throws, and apparently when
They
your
got shook.
team misses 18 free throws, the fans are going to be mad. And the fans got mad enough to threaten a 9-year-old so bad, you guys, that she was removed from the arena. Like, come on now. Like, what are we doing?
This is literally my fear. Like when Angel is screaming, like sometimes I'm like, Angel, keep it down. But Renee literally tells me, that's fine. This is what we're here to do. We're here to yell and scream.
Yes.
But this is literally my fear because I don't want to have to fight anybody, first of all. I don't want nobody to come and Renee talks to me about this all the time. She's like, you can't fight. I'm like, well, if somebody comes for my baby,
I tell her we're too old to be fighting.
They've come for me before.
No, we're
They've
not.
come for me before.
No, we're not. No, we're not. No, Snook. Yeah, they come for you, and Diddy was ready to fight. So I'm gonna say this.
And Diddy is the holiest man that I know.
I'm telling you, it would have been an unholy beating that was gonna happen. Though they put one hand on Snook. But my point, I agree 100% with Serena. If you come from my child, you don't know what you're gonna get. I don't care how old you are, how old I am, how old we can still, because the point is that, and this is what really upsets me. She's 9. You said she was 9, right?
9 years old.
She's 9, and the problem is, have these people never heard of clutch? I mean, you're supposed to yell.
Y'all ain't got that clutch, Gene.
They ain't got that clutch. I mean, you mad because your team missed 18 free throws? You should be more mad at your team than a 9-year-old shook you to the core.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
They shook a 9-year-old shook you to the core. You couldn't make a shot.
Last time that I checked, I remember shooting a game winner for Minnesota against the LA Sparks. There was a human that was a fan for the Los Angeles Sparks. It was on their court. He's literally waving his arms beside me, almost on the court, trying to distract me to miss the shot. Y'all mean to tell me that this 9-year-old, y'all was really, now I know betting, shouts to DraftKings, because they're our whole, they're our partners, they're partners of the family. Y'all don't let this betting get to y'all's head a little bit. Like, I'm positive that DraftKings does not want folks threatening a 9-year-old, like just because you messed up on your bet or something's going on.
Do not. Yeah, and I think that's the thing right there. I really think that that's the part that caused a lot of this stir and confusion is betting. And DraftKings is our partner, and I know for a fact they have on the TV. It tells you please bet responsibly, which also means do not threaten 9-year-olds because you are losing bets. That's the responsible part of it. That's the part that people are missing. They're not okay. There's no way in life that little girl should miss her father's game because these people have undone their lives and bet more money than they had and are losing their shirts. I don't understand it. And see, and then another thing is that whoever knew that these people were doing this, y'all are not okay either. Because there's no way in life I could have a friend that's threatening a 9-year-old. There's no way. A family member.
They should be upset with the players because, you should have ice in your blood at times like that when you have to shoot those free throws in stressful situations. Really.
You got to be able to deliver.
Yeah. And this is not their first time. Yeah. These are professional players. People have been making noise when they've been shooting shots
forever.
Since probably they were in bitty ball.
Make some noise.
That's literally what it says. Yeah. They got the little things waving.
We gotta start
behind the baskets. Yeah. I mean, come on now.
We got to start being for real.
When Renee was young, this is in junior high, we were at a away school during a school time game, and it was loud and rambunctious in there. Renee, when she went to shoot her foul shots, the gym erupted. They was doing everything but throwing cups on the floor. Renee looked at him, smiled, turned around, swish. They did it again. She looked at him, swish, like, go ahead, make your noise.
That's the best way to silence the crowd. Make the shot. Make the shot.
So that popped. So that was something that because listen, the NBA playoffs are going on right now, and I'm about to, go on a little rant of how much I love it. So Sam, I'm sorry, but Every night, our night revolves around what time is
Every
the game?
television in the house.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this needs to stop.
Yeah. This is can't miss stuff, though. It's can't miss stuff.
I'm just saying, every time she's asking me, like, oh, because
Yeah,
there's movies that we need to watch. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, she loves scary movies. There's all kinds of scary movies out and everything like that. I don't have time right now for the next month. Like, I'm like, I don't know what to tell people. Even when people are like, yeah, what you doing Friday? I'm about to pull up at the Hawks game. What you doing Friday? What? Like, what's going on? So I apologize for all of the NBA fans and myself included, and to all the wives and maybe even the husbands that
and the mothers, because let me tell you what happened in my household that I came home to one day. One day I came home and I realized that they had been watching basketball 24. So I'm like, what channel is this on? Well, the husband and the son, the little son, the 9-year-old, have conspired and got NBA League Pass. So now
and didn't even tell you.
Didn't even tell me. So now before he goes to bed, he gets up first thing in the morning before school. There's basketball.
Love
he comes
it.
in the door just a couple minutes ago. Basketball. At night, it's basketball. We are basketball 24 hours a day with NBA League Pass. Shouts out to NBA if y'all want to sponsor us. I got one in my house right now who would be love to be sponsored. But
Adam Silver for giving me the free league pass at the beginning of the season. I didn't get to shout you out when it happened, so I'm glad you said that, Cole, because I do get free
thank you,
league
Adam
pass.
Silver.
And
Thank
shouts
you.
to Adam Silver, even
I'm
though
being
I
so
know
happy.
that a lot of people ain't shouting out Adam Silver right now, but I want to shout out Adam Silver, show him love just for the league pass. But that's what's up.
okay.
That's what's
Well.
up. And so here's some other things that happened that I thought was pretty incredible that happened in the NBA. So Mark Cuban, I'm just going to give the paraphrasing idea of what happened. The guy, if you know, you know, but I'm going to paraphrase for you guys what happened. Mark Cuban's Dallas team, they had an opportunity to make the play-in game or make the playoffs. The Dallas Mavericks, I almost called them the Wings, but the Dallas Mavericks decided that they were not going to play Kyrie, Luka, and 4 other starters and the bench. And so the NBA put them under an investigation. The NBA ended their investigation by fining the Dallas Mavericks $750,000.
Wow.
In turn, do y'all know what the Dallas Mavericks did?
Oh no, I didn't hear about the intern part.
Great. I couldn't wait to tell you this part. In turn, Mark Cuban, owner that we know, host of Shark Tank, all of those things, he said, all right, bet. He said, I'll take your $750 fine and I'll double it and give another double of that $750 to charity. Bye.
Wow.
Hey,
Yo.
ain't hurting my pocketbook none.
What is really going? Okay, so this is like, sports is at an interesting time right now, everybody. I want y'all to realize what's going on, okay? When you got an owner that essentially says, I see your fine, it means nothing to me. I'm going to double what you actually were going to fine me, and I'm going to just double it and give that other half to charity. What do you do when it comes to rules now? And I mean, like,
The owners are taking back
we
their
could
power.
hit him up and see if he wants to give a little bit of it to a 501c3. since he's in the giving mood.
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, I knew what we were supposed to be talking about, but my one was like, well.
Listen, that is a good question, though. Where does that money go? When people say that they're going to pay a fine,
Who?
or when
We should hit him
say-
up. We should hit him up.
No, but where does that money really go? Like,
Well, I could tell him where it would really go if he hits it up with us. I could give him a good list. I have a bunch of events that we could do, but
we're trying to make
I
a
digress. I can digress. I know what we're supposed to be talking about, so let's talk about what we're supposed to be talking about. And let's just say, I
what
feel
do
like
do if you're the commissioner and an owner says to you, "All right,
well,
bet,
guess
give me
what?
that $750. That's okay. I'll give you. I'm going to double that."
I think it's the same thing that they've been saying. I don't think it's, to me, that's not anything big. And the reason why I say that is because when they find these players pocket change. Oh, he got fined $20,000 for not wearing the right socks. Well, they don't care.
So
They're
how do
like,
you
I
keep law
spent
and
that
order?
last night at the club. What are you talking about?
How do you keep law and order then? It would be my
See, that's the
question.
thing.
Like,
I
how
think-
do you then, if I'm not worried about a fine, then you're an organization, how are you going to have your organization run properly where everyone has to abide by the same rules, play by the same rules? If you have some people that don't necessarily care about
You're going to
abiding the rules.
stop using money.
Yeah.
So
it's
Stop
gonna
using
have-
money.
Okay.
You're
You're
going to have to
start. You're going to start
like
losing games.
Your team cannot
Play the first game
5
or-
games of the season, or
you're gonna have
something
to-
like
yeah,
that.
you're
You're
gonna have
not
to-
eligible for any. Your players aren't eligible for any awards or all stars or anything, something like that.
or
All stars. Okay, I see where you're going with it, though, in a sense of
Yeah.
it would have to be a team penalization.
well, no. What I'm saying is, you take them a game down going into the playoffs. If you make it to the playoffs, you're a game down. That makes it worth it to the players.
So you're saying, so this is okay. So this will really. So basically, you're trying to say I want to hit them where it really hurts.
Oh, you
Well,
have to.
That's the only way. Some way you can do it.
I mean,
money
you
doesn't
said-
mean a thing.
You have billionaires. You can't. You are playing poker with billionaires who can cash in on that bluff. You got people who can cash in on a bluff. You can't bluff them with money. You can't bluff them with money. If you're gonna penalize them, you got to penalize them where
Draft
the team.
picks would be my first. I mean, I would think you would have to go a certain systematically way where, all right, if somebody, like for instance, the same way they're giving perks for the Rooney Rule, the perks for the Rooney Rule, as we know in the NFL, they wanted to hire more minorities in positions
It's
of
a
power in the
joke.
NFL.
Again,
Okay, but we digress. The rules of the Rooney Rule are they give you better draft picks, or like there's different perks when it comes to drafting. So maybe the reverse of the Rooney Rule, in a sense of whenever an organization doesn't necessarily follow the rules, there's a draft implication. There's because I don't know how much further, like what else can you honestly
well, I don't even think a
realistically
draft
do?
would do it. Can't they trade? What's a
Draft
trade?
is everything. Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well,
People
it
don't
is-
like to play around with our
Well, listen.
draft picks. I want my draft picks.
Okay, I get that. But these people trade and go to teams like they get in cars and riding
But
limos.
that's the beauty of drafting, because look, we just drafted Haley Jones, and that means that's a 4 years. Haley Jones will be a part of the Atlanta Dream. Now, once you get older and you start to being able to sign 1 year contract, I could sign a 1 year and the next year sign another 1 year. Odell Beckham Jr. just signed a 1 year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. So,
Well, I mean, I get it, but I don't think that's because it depends on where you are in the draft. It depends on
yeah, but it doesn't matter. So let's say, because this is how the draft works. Every team usually gets 1 pick per round, right? So if I'm the Atlanta Dream, and even if my pick is the last pick of the first round, so there's 12 WNBA teams, and we have the 12th pick of the first round. You mean to tell me if they tell me that we forfeit our first round draft pick, that I ain't gonna be stressed, even if I have the worst draft pick in that round?
If you have a dream team. If you have a dream team and these teams are winning,
the
and
Dallas Mavericks didn't even make the playoffs. These are not dream team scenarios.
What I'm saying is that we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks, but I'm talking about other teams. It depends on who the team is, whether that's going to be a threat or not. That's all I'm saying is that, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a team that's winning, and they're like, well, we want to keep on winning. If we keep on winning our team, how can you say that missing that first round draft pick is going to be an impactful decision on your? So I'm saying is that for teams that don't make it, it's everything. Like Dallas Mavericks, it would be everything for them. But for everyone else who's like, hey, I got my starters, we good for the next 4 years, y'all can do what you do. You know what I'm saying? It's that type of decision that you have to think about. So
yeah, it's going to get interesting.
It does get interesting.
I'm just going to say sports is getting more and more interesting because you have Draymond Green, who instantly
awful. He's so awful. That was awful.
Oh wow! Well, you better say it with your chest then, Snook. I mean, look, the playoffs are a more physical game, and I'm going to do my whole thoughts on the playoffs real quick. Playoffs get more physical as a whole, right? Some fans don't like that. Some fans think, well, why do you play the full season a certain way, ref a certain way, and then the refs allow them to be more physical in the playoffs? I don't know. It's happened since I've been playing. It's happened since the beginning of the time. It gets more physical in the playoffs. Now, when that physicality arises, I saw Shaq made a comment. Go ahead, Snook.
I was just going to say, you're talking about physicality, but some of the things that have happened don't have anything to do with the game or any basketball moves or anything. And what happened, I don't know if you're referencing the stomping or whatever. If that happened and you were playing and someone did that, they would have had to have security to get him out of there, because that would have really caused our family to really hit the floor. I'm telling you, hit the floor.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's tough because before the stomp was the grab. And so, you know what I mean? Like Sabonis grabbed Draymond Green's leg. Draymond Green was like, get off of me, boy. Stomped him out. Neither are okay. I'm okay with either in a sense of like give them both a flagrant and let's keep it moving. This is how I feel. I don't want the star players to not be playing in the big moments. In college basketball, we saw a lot of the star players get foul trouble. And while this is warranted, like I get it, you can't have, like we just talked about it, you can't have people going crazy and all this and that. But I do understand that there's a certain level of physicality that we've seen in the playoffs that I've enjoyed. I don't want people stomping people out, obviously. I don't want people grabbing people's legs, but I do want that physicality and enjoy that physicality. And so I do know that there's, some give and take. Might have to have Monty McCutcheon on here to talk. He's the head of official referees, but I'm just curious, there's a give and take. I know you said it's awful, Snook, but Shaq made a statement that said he would have done the exact same thing if somebody thought that they was going to pull him down, grabbing his leg. So I know.
Well, it didn't look like it was a pull down to me. It looked like in the tussle that his arms just got tangled up in the situation with them big feet and everything out there. I don't know.
Definitely
I
not,
don't
Ma.
know,
Definitely
Snook.
not.
I think you're,
Definitely not. I think you're giving him
the
the benefit of the doubt. But what I agree with Renee, I think the physicality goes with it's the playoffs. And with the playoffs comes the bonuses, the perks, the contract cash-ins. And so, it becomes a little bit more serious. So I agree. I like seeing the physicality. I like it. I think that it makes it more intense. I think it brings it back to me more of a college mentality, which is what I actually enjoy, because college, you're playing for the heart, for the soul, for the purpose of winning. And so I think that that's what you kind of see more in the playoffs than you do in the pros.
All right. Well, look, listen, that's going to be a conversation that continues to happen as we see more players get fined. We've seen players like, I believe it was Fred VanVleet, who was like, I don't really care about the fine I'm going to get. I'm about to talk about these refs because it's unacceptable. We're starting to see players. We're starting to see teams even. We're just starting to see a lot of people that are almost saying, all right, well, whatever that fine is, hit me with it. Or even in the moment saying, I know I'm going to get fined, but I'm about to. And then just so as sports develop in all the leagues, we're starting to see where everybody's pushing it a little bit to the edge. So that's something to keep an eye on as we watch these NBA playoffs, as we watch the WNBA and all the other different leagues of sports is dramatically changing, like fundamentally changing. And we're going to talk all about it as it happens. Coming up next, we have the executive producer, showrunner, and writer of the hit show Bel-Air, Carla Banks-Waddles. Let's get it.
Want to make our top 5 list of listeners? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all of our socials.
Let's get it. So we got Carla Banks here, and if you guys don't know, she's the Bel-Air executive producer and showrunner. She's a writer, she's a mom, she's all of the above, all the type of people that we like to talk to. She's all of that and more. And so we're excited. Thank you for joining us here on Montgomery Co, Miss Carla.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you. And so congrats on, first of all, we already know that there's going to be a season 3 of Bel-Air. So I got to say congrats because I'm excited. Everyone knows I'm a fan of the show. We had Rashid Newsom last year on talking about season 1. So I'm excited to be here season 2, and it's still thriving. But without giving too much, I don't want you to giving what you can. What should we be looking forward to in the season 2 finale of Bel-Air?
Okay, so without giving away too much, to not spoil too much, I mean, we leave it all on the table for the season finale. Like, we did not hold anything back. So I think that you can look forward to a lot of storylines coming to a head that you've been waiting for to see what's going to happen. And then also setting up a lot of cliffhangers for what to look forward to in season 3. But a lot of the relationship dynamics that people have been talking about, tweeting about with like Hillary, Jazz, LaMarcus.
What's going on?
What's going to happen there, Carlton and his journey, Will and his emotional journey, everything, all the emotions coming to a head in everybody's storyline.
Oh, bring it on, because I need to know everything going on. Like Jazzy, like I love Jazzy, but it's just not feeling like it's working. But I'm curious though, as you started to be a part of season 2 and be involved, were you already thinking about season 3? Like, you know how like every year you have to pretty much, well, not all shows, but some shows it's like you want to get to season 3, but you got to make sure season 2 is good enough. So is that a thought, like, what's the thought process when it comes to that? Because as we watch shows, I'm just gonna be honest, like, fans will be like, oh, that was a filler episode, or we feel like certain moments or certain seasons set us up for the next season. So
Right.
how do you balance that when you know that there's another season that could be coming, but
Right.
you're living in the season right now?
Right. No, it's a good question. I think in season 1, we knew we had a season 2, so there were definitely things where we were like, we're going to save that for season 2, and we had a whole little folder of this was, things that we wanted to do in season 2. And I think in this season, we didn't know, if there was going to be a season 3. So it's like, just put it all out there because we may not be back. We hope to be back, but don't hold anything back season 2, like give it all. And then if we come back into season 3, we did set up some, in which now we know we are, that we did in the season setting some things up that we would like to see in season 3, but definitely wanting season 2 to feel like its own season, whether we were going to come back or not. But I think you'll see the way that it ends. We were definitely setting things up to give hope, that should we come back, that fans will be like, oh, what's going to happen? So it's a little balance of both when you really just don't know.
Got you. And speaking of hope, you're a writer, so there's certain lines that just stick out as powerful. And for me in season 2, there was a quote that stood out to me that said, if no one disrupts the system doesn't change. I felt like that was a line in the show Bel-Air, but I felt like that was a line for life.
Yes. Yes, Viv says that in episode 3. And definitely, that episode was full of so much just rich goodness, especially from Aunt Viv, and knowing what she was fighting for that teacher and what she wanted for her children and the kind of education that she felt was important. But yeah, just being a disruptor and disrupting the system is definitely something, as she goes forward with her own storyline in the season, that she sort of figures that out for herself, even that sometimes you have to disrupt what's there. So yeah, it's a good quote.
Wait a minute, you just told me episode 3. Do you know, like, every show, every line? I literally just gave you a random line from the show that stood out to me, and you said, oh yeah, episode 3. Like, do you know the whole show line by line at this point?
Pretty much, when it started getting towards the end, like kind of 8, 9, 10 just ran together, really. Like, it's like, well, what happened in 8 again? Well, no, that was 9. Did that happen in 9 or did we do that in 7? So a lot of it is you just come like this encyclopedia of all the things. Wow. So I started off the season strong, but I didn't, by the time it came to an end, it just kind of became a mush of 8, 9, 10. But yeah, I do feel like I have a lot of those details in my head, because you spend so much time mapping out the season and the characters and the stories and placing stuff meticulously. So it's sort of just all there.
That's crazy, because I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't just say it was episode 3, but I digress. That's amazing, because that just tells you, like, you are in the thick of it, and you're not only a producer, but you're also a writer, you're a showrunner. And we watch these scripted shows. We know they're fictional, but even like the quote I just told you, it feels like there's inspiration from real stories. I feel like I know what Aunt Viv, and fighting for her struggles. And so when you write and you sit down, are you taking inspiration from people characters stories you've read?
Yes. I mean, all of that, we obviously, from my story, bringing in stuff, that I've gone through, and all the writers, and that's the beauty of the writer's room, everybody coming in and being willing to share, this is my story, this is my pain, this happened to me, and us really saying, oh, that could be an interesting story for Viv, or wow, that could be an interesting story for Carlton, or how can we turn that into something for our characters? Because it really does come out of all those personal stories that we share in such a vulnerable way.
Y'all haven't had any best man moments, right? Where your friends are mad at how they're portrayed. Like, girl, I know that's me. And I know that you made this off of my character. And has that ever happened where people are like, wait a minute, that feels a little familiar?
All the time. And sometimes it's like, that was not even you. But people will like see themselves in the story and be like, I know that's that time in college when we did the thing. And I was like, I forgot we did the thing, actually, but no, that's
Angela
not you.
Bassett did the thing.
So yes, it happens all the time, which is funny. We try to change all names to protect the innocent, I say. because it's like it's a mishmash, and sometimes it is the story, and you try to disguise it with. It becomes the female character in the show versus the male character, so you can sort of tuck the story away, and it's not so clear, what that personal story really is.
That reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen, but that documentary Freaknik is coming out, and everybody's like, Lord have mercy.
Yes, everybody.
They need to change the names and blur the names. But I'm thinking about when you talked about the writers and everybody sharing their experience. I'm not sure how much you can speak on it, but can you talk to us a little bit about the Writers Guild of American strike that's been on the news lately? Because some people may not be aware. Like, can you break down what's happening for people that don't know, and how will this affect TV and film industry in the near future? Like, because a lot of people don't know like what's going on in that space.
Yeah, the Writers Guild of America, which is the union for all the writers, TV, screenwriters. It's our contract year. And so we're now coming to the table and negotiating what our new contract is going to look like. And May 1st is our deadline to determine. We just took a big vote, strike authorization vote, where all the writers say, do you have the right to sort of go forward with the strike? Do you have our permission? And it was like a whopping 97% like, yes, you do, because there's so many things that, writers are fighting for and feeling like, there's so many issues I won't even get into, but just fighting for, the equal pay and for what we do, and for younger writers and for the experiences that they're getting and that they're not getting, as sort of the format of television changes into these smaller orders of 10, that we're just not, writers aren't getting the pay, and they're also not getting the experience that they would normally get. I've been doing this for 20 years, and starting out when we were doing 20 episodes a season, I was, you learn all aspects of the show from the beginning to the end, where you're in the writer's room and then you're on set and you're producing your episode, and sort of in these short order forms that we're at television, writers are moving on from show to show to show, and they're not staying. They're just in the writer's room in many cases, and they're not learning to produce their episodes or be on set or talk to actors or work with directors or be in the editing bay. And so much of what we do as writers is beyond just the writer's room. So right now we're just fighting to protect a lot of that. And so we don't know if it's going to lead to a strike, but May 1st is the deadline for them to sort of figure it all out. And hopefully, if we have to do it and sort of stand behind what we're looking for, that, you hope that it won't last long, because people's livelihoods. And but that 97% vote of yes, if we have to, then we're going to do it,
That's strong. I mean, it makes me think about, I played in the WNBA 11 years, and we have a CBA. So these unions or collective bargaining agreements, like that's going to be a conversation for the WNBA, because whenever you see these things happen, I like to always ask somebody that's in the field so that you can explain to them. So, because on the outside world, people may not be like, what's the problem with WNBA players? You're making a decent living, and then they don't understand the intricate ins and outs. And so you said something that stuck out to me. I want 20 episodes a season now. We only get 7 or 8. Like, give me 20 Bel-Air, please. 45 minutes. Like, when did that shift happen? Honestly, because we literally, I'll binge watch a whole show in one day. That used to be like an impossible thing to do. But now, you could put out a whole season at once, which a lot of platforms do. And with 7 or 8 episodes, I'll watch them all and be like, so what now? Like, what am I supposed to do? When did that shift happen from like a lot to a little, basically?
I know. It really, those were the old days of network television, which I started in, which we were doing, you'd start out with 13, then you get this back 9 order for, a full season of 22 episodes. And that was sort of like the thing that we were all striving for. Honestly, I mean, I just can't even understand how we did, because 10 episodes of television, I'm like, I'm done, I'm wiped out. I can't imagine. But I think that transition from, to cable and then ultimately streaming, we just saw those orders going from 10, sometimes 8 episodes a season. And it's just sort of the television landscape that we're in now, where those 22 episodes of network television are disappearing.
They're a thing of the past. And so I want to get in your opinion then, well, first of all, let's talk about something real quick, because you, like me and a lot of others, I saw that you had said something along the lines of, just finished episode 3 of Succession and I cannot. So I can't either. Please, talk to me, because this is the thing about television. I do this online when it comes to shows like Bel-Air, but Succession, man. What are we
Ah.
feeling? How are we
Oh,
feeling?
are you a fan? Are you caught up? You know what's happened and all
I'm
that
caught
stuff.
up. I'm
Okay.
caught up. They done tried to kill Pops and everything. I'm caught up. Spoiler alert,
Oh.
people. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, exactly. Oh my gosh, I had to tweet about that. And I don't tweet about other shows often, but in this world of social media, so much gets spoiled for you right before you get to it. And I'm always behind on television. So stuff, I'm never watching it when everybody else is watching it. And for some reason that night, I watched episode 3 of Succession the day it came out, right? And so it was so beautiful for me just to experience it as just a pure viewer of not knowing what was going to happen. I had no idea that moment was coming. And it just unfolded for me in such a beautiful way in real time. But the writing of that episode, quite, when you're jealous of something, like, I wish I would have wrote that. That's just how I felt, and kudos to Jesse Armstrong, showrunner, because like that, and he wrote that episode was just, it was just perfection on so many levels. Like, I watched it over and over. I rewound to other scenes and just, I read everybody else's tweets because those characters, these are characters that you should not like, but somehow you were still rooting for them and you were just in the pain with them.
Somehow Roman doesn't, like, I don't know what it is about Roman, but I'm like, oh, I should not like Roman. I agree, but that's a lot. That's saying a lot coming from a showrunner yourself, an executive producer, a writer yourself. So that makes me wonder, like, what things what components are needed to make a good show? Like, clearly writing is a thing, which is why I asked you about the writers, but are there other dynamics that it's like just that you try to tap into that draws people in, or just what are those elements of a good show?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much. I think for me, first of all, it just has to feel authentic, and that does come from some of those conversations in the writer's room. If this happened to me, like if it happened to you, it probably happened to somebody else. Like, you aren't alone. And so I think, good television comes from just being showing real things that people go, wow, like I may have not ever seen that on television before, or that is me and nobody has spoken to that. And just so that it feels real. And I think a lot of the conversations like around Carlton and his mental health journey and the frustrations with that, and how it's not just a linear thing. It's not just I'm on the road to goodness. It's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So just making all those journeys and all those stories feel authentic. And then I think also, we talk about subverting expectations and not wanting to surprise the audience. The audiences today, and special people who love television like yourself, they see things coming, they're like, I know what
I want
they're
that
doing.
plot twist, baby.
And you don't want that, because, TV viewers are smart, and you want to you want them to think they know what's coming and then give them something else. And, that it's always a delight when that happens and you're just like, oh, I didn't see that coming, And so I think trying to make it feel authentic, but also make it feel exciting and make it feel unexpected, make it a fun ride.
I love that. And so season 3, we know it's been greenlit. So what are your thoughts just heading into that? Like, I know that you're in the thick of it with season 2, but just like, you still have to be thinking about season 3. So just heading into season 3, what are your thoughts, feelings?
Yeah. Well, season 3, thoughts and feelings. I mean, so much the way we end it, there's so much where we're like, oh, we got to figure that out. Like, you kind of write yourself into a hole. And you're like, whoo, we got to figure that out. But so much of the way it ends in an emotional way for the family, for Carlton in particular, I think coming back in season 3, that we'll be able to come back and say, not only does Carlton need fixing, the whole family needs fixing, and the whole family.
Put the whole family in therapy, Carla. Put them all in it together.
Right. And all together. Because it's easier to be like, you got the problem, you're the one. But like when you hold the mirror up to yourself, you're like, maybe there's some things that we're not dealing with, that I'm not dealing with, or in my own relationships. So having it sort of come back and have the entire family realize that, we got some work to do. We could be better. We're all not okay, and just seeing what that journey looks like for them, and wanting to have some joy, because as much as we have these authentic conversations and we we want the show to be meaningful and be about something and be nuanced and be blackety black and talk about the culture and all these things that we want the show to be. We also just want it to be fun, and so making sure that we're not losing sight of the joy that this family has and that these young people have. So just trying to find that balance of all of that coming back in season 3.
I love it. I'll be waiting on a cameo. I want to be up in there, okay? All that blackety black. I'll be waiting. Listen, I'm here for it, but I want to get your top 5 because I'm in the sports world, right? And I ask people all the time. I have coaches on. I'm like, who are your top 5 coaches? I have players on. Who's the top 5 hardest players you've had to guard? I want to ask you, who's your top 5? But we're going to be in the entertainment industry. So I'm going to start with top 5 favorite TV writers, just in general, because you just shouted out Jesse when you talked about Succession. We'll get to showrunners, but I want to get 3 categories of your top 5, starting with writers.
Okay. Well, let me go to my sister circle because we have come up in this game together. Like I said, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and there's some that I've started with, and there's some, some powerful Black women writers that I've started with and just picked up along the way. Like, how you doing? That we check on each other. So if I'm going to give a top 5, I'm going to give a shout out to Janika and Jashika James, who are also they're twins, they're sisters, and they're writers with me now on Bel-Air. They've been in this game for a while. I'm going to give a shout out and say Maisha Clausen, who has been in this game for a while, started out in half-hour comedy with me and is now doing drama and running Truth Be Told on Apple. I will say Ramala Muhammad, who is the showrunner of Reasonable Doubt. Started off in Shondaland, on Grey's, and Scandal. And let's see, I'm going to say, there's so many.
See, I knew that you would have the answer. This is dope. Shout them out. So what we at 4?
I think so.
Or the twins counted. The twins counted as 1. Actually, you can have 2 more if the twins count as 1. You can have 2 more.
2 more. Okay. Then I'm going to say Esther Lou Withers, who was a writer with me on Good Girls. She's just a fabulous producer and writer.
By the way, Miss Carla, I love all your shows, by the way. Like, I like all the other shows you've done in the past. We're focusing on Bel-Air right now, but we watch Good Girls. Obviously, That's So Raven is all my jam. Grew up in that. So just so you shout them out because we're fans.
Thank you. I love that. And then I think finally Veli Bowser, who, famous in this industry, created Living Single in her 20s, gave me my first job, is still a mentor today. So, she's fitting to be that 5th and final, wouldn't be here without her.
Love that. Shouts to Living Single and all of that, because we know that's our friends, basically. So Living Single, that's our friends, basically, in that world. But let's talk about TV shows, top 5, because I love hearing it from you. Like, there's shows we could love, but then if you love it, it's like, okay, this show is written well, produced well, all of that. So top 5 shows.
Ooh, okay. Top 5. They're probably not what you would expect.
Love it.
I'm going to
plot twist me.
Okay. I'm going to put Succession in that because, again, a lot of the shows that are in that top 5 are things that you watch with and go, I wish I would have wrote that. Like, why couldn't I have figured that out? How kind of, that feel aspirational. And I feel like there's a show called Money Heist that it's a Spanish language show and it's on Netflix.
Seen it.
You've seen it, and it's just, for me, just in terms of a character study, and who it being a very character-driven show, and going back and finding out so much about those characters and their backstory. I would say that's up there for me in terms of like storytelling done well. I would say Ozark is also a favorite, just in terms of the heightened crime family. I'm a big fan of Insecure, and
let's go.
And Prentice were able to do with that show, and just like holding up a mirror to what Black females look like in friendship, and just that mirror that we didn't know we needed, as I say. And how many was that?
That was 4.
That was 4. Goodness. There's so many. It's hard.
You mean just throw Bel-Air in there, number 5? I'm gonna put Bel-Air in there. I'm gonna do
of course, Bel-Air is in there.
You can't pick your own though, but I know what you're saying. I like what you did though, because Money Heist, no one would have ever expected you to say, I watched that. It's one of those shows I binged watched straight through. But I love that because character driven is something that you also pointed out. So character driven, good writing. And I want to go back and ask you something real quick. Is it different writing for a kid's show, That's So Raven, as opposed to now you've done Good Girls and different things of that nature? Like how much different is it writing for those type of shows?
Yeah, very different. I think early on, I took all sorts of jobs. So when you look at my resume, it's all over the place. And there was definitely a time I was in that Disney, Nickelodeon world and writing for children. And very different, first of all, multi-camera, half-hour comedy, which is where I started. It's all in which those shows all were. And it was definitely all about the joke. In the case of That's So Raven, it was all about, we used I Love Lucy as a prototype for that show a lot. Like what kind of weird, tricky situations can we get her in? And how can we dress her up? What kind of a wacky kind of things can we give? So it was all about that big set piece. And, what can we do, to give Raven that big wacky set piece? And, Raven Simone was a comedy genius and she nailed it week to week. And, it was fun, so you're writing towards something, or you're writing, in the case of half-hour multi-camera and kid shows, 3 jokes a page, the setup and the joke, And it's good training, but, that training coming to 1 hour, very different. It's not about the joke. I think everything I write is going to have a little lighthearted spin to it, or I'm going to find some comedy in it, but it's definitely more about the characters and feeling a little more authentic to the way people actually talk and live and experience life. So just very different in the writer's room, the discussion, very different. A lot of stand-up comics in those comedy spaces, even for kids, that are all about the joke. That's what that is. Yeah.
I was cracking up growing up. Listen, Miss Carla, you are welcome here anytime, any show. This is a home for you, because I feel like I love everything that you produce, but I also just love that you're doing it at such a high level. So congrats on season 3. If y'all haven't, you better check out Bel-Air. Come on now, get with it. We're on season 2 right now. Season 3 is coming out. Thank you so much for joining us here on Montgomery Co. All right, y'all, that's all we have for today. And man, I love being able to not only talk to experts in their field about their field, because that's exactly what Miss Carla Banks-Waddles is. She's an expert, she's credible, but she's also so thoughtful, because, in sports we talk about longevity is the test of time, and nobody can beat father time, but longevity is the test of time when you're talking about greatness and doing amazing things in your field. And she's had shows from when I was growing up, I enjoyed, from That's So Raven to now as an adult, I love Bel-Air. So she's definitely withstood the test of time. And I love that she's each one teach one, that type of model, because that's how we feel here at Montgomery & Company, where it's a generational thing. See y'all next week.